when I blend teas, the plants tell me how to blend. They tell me what to use. And now I go in with my herbalist diplomas and my knowledge, and I know approximately what I want it to do. Okay, I want this tea to help relieve a cough. So I will pull in a couple of ingredients that I know specifically they're good for that ailment. So behind me is my room with all my herbs in it. So there's tins of herbs, there's bags of herbs, there's just floor to ceiling herbs. So I sit in that room and I will ask who wants to come and join this blend. Who wants to help aid this blend?
Welcome to the Feminine Alchemy podcast, where we explore the truth about the feminine, the peaceful, the wild, and the visceral. I'm your host, J.N. Behringer, joined by my co-hosts, Julie Dean Richards and Kaylee Rose. Each week, we explore the deep mysteries of the feminine and help listeners apply them to their daily lives in a practical way. Join us to unlock the hidden wisdoms your soul has been waiting for. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Feminine Alchemy. I'm your host, J.N. Behringer, and we have a lovely guest on today, Leandra Witchwood. Please say hi.
Hello. I'm glad to be
Leandra,
here.
I am so excited to have you here. Leandra is such a good friend of mine, like so great, first of all. But more importantly, she's like one of the most magical people I have ever known, and I'm just so stoked to have you share your wisdom and your knowledge with our community.
I'm happy to be here. This is fun.
It is
always
fun.
Talking to you is fun.
I will try not to laugh too much.
Yeah, we have a very specific experience with laughing too much. I don't know if you want to tell everybody.
It was way too much laughing. Like my insides still hurt, and it was a month ago. Transformative laughter, guys. That's what we're gonna do next.
Yes, it was great. And yeah, my side was hurting, my back was hurting from laughing too much for like a week.
So I'm gonna tell you all guys about Leandra. She's gonna tell you a lot about herself because she's many stories in one woman. And but I'm gonna tell you her bio, and I am like even more impressed. I forget how many amazing things you've done. So
I do too,
Leandra, honestly. Right. It'd be like that. What did I do? Really? I did that?
I did that? Oh, cool.
I'm awesome. Leandra Witchwood is a modern witch, priestess, and master herbalist dedicated to work cunning. We'll learn about what that is. Magic, healing, and spiritual growth. Based in South Central PA, she founded the Magic Kitchen blog in 2011, which has evolved to become one of the top 30 podcasts in the religion and spirituality category. Woo! She's also an author of 5 books on witchcraft and shadow work. Leandra uses her decades of knowledge and experience to guide the magical community. Using her knowledge as a vitalist herbalist, Leandra also hand blends loose leaf teas at the Witchwood Tea House, where she seamlessly marries whimsy with flavor. Oh, that's so true. As a Celtic and Usui Reiki master and shadow work master, she leads rituals, women's circles, and workshops. Leandra offers courses and training programs in the Rebel Mystic community and academy. Join Leandra for an empowering journey into self-discovery and magic. Like, wow. So good to have you on here.
Thank you. I sound really cool.
Really cool.
It's weird because I look at my daily life. It is a magical life. Like my magic is integrated into my daily life, and I'm like, I'm so boring. Like I'm cool with like being in bed at 9:00.
Yeah. I feel like that every end of the year, and I look back at all the things, and I go, "Holy crap! I did so many things." And then I went, but I really thought I was just doing nothing all day long.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why journaling is so important. So we can look back and see exactly our growth, our progress, what we accomplished. I used to hate journaling. I hated it. And then I started doing it regularly. And now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I did a lot.
So good. So important. So tell everyone, what is the first thing I want to ask you? What is your sun, moon, and rising? And how do you relate to that?
So I am double Pisces, sun and moon, and then my
Ooh.
rising is Aries.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very contradictory, and really that describes me. I am a contradiction. I am both mellow and then hyper, you know. I am passive and aggressive. Depending on the situation, but I think it really helps me adapt well. I am very quick to adapt to things, and that I think has been the way that I have been able to accomplish as much as I've accomplished in the past 10, 20 years, even 5 years, a year, because I can pivot really quickly. And when I set my mind to something, when I am dedicated to something, when I decide that I'm going to do something, I head first go into it and I accomplish it. And so what I do is I teach others how to be more flexible like that in the work that I do one-on-one, and in my Gardens of the Mystic program and other programs, my classes and stuff that I teach. I try to teach others how to do the same so that they can also pivot, so they can also see the opportunities and take them without questioning themselves.
How do you describe what it is that you do? And I mean, your bio is amazing, beautiful, expertly written, and shows all your accomplishments. But what, on a day-to-day basis, if someone's going to work with you, like, how do you describe that?
That's a good question, because I think it depends on what they're looking at specifically, because I'm an author, I'm a teacher, I'm a priestess. So I think the best, if I had to sum it up in one word, I'm a mystic, because I lump everything into that esoteric side of myself. Everything I do is got some sort of esoteric tinge to it. Even making a cup of tea in the morning, or coffee, or sitting down to journal, or going to the grocery store. I'm always looking for the synchronicities. I'm always looking for the magic in what I'm doing, and to where it becomes the mundane. And so in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I'm pretty boring, but I guess I'm not. And so if I had to describe myself, it would be the mystic. So I'm always looking for that, the tween thing, the in between. What's the hidden message? What's the hidden purpose? You know, am I just going to the grocery store, or am I am I trying to nourish myself in some way on a deeper level?
This, like, so Piscean, so Piscean, classically Piscean right
Classic.
there. I'm the mystic.
Yeah.
So great. So let's talk about just kind of how you got into being witchy, how you became to the even calling yourself a witch, like giving yourself that label. What was that experience like for you? And yeah, just something that will just inspire people to understand how that comes to be.
Well, it was a long road. It started probably as far as back as I can remember. I was the kid that would take the screen off of my window of my bedroom and sneak out into the backyard so I could lay under the moonlight. So I was that little rebellious child. I'm like, no. Like, the moon's shining, I have to be under it, right? That's what we do. We lay under the sun, we lay under the moon. That's what I did. So I mean, I grew up in a very Christian environment. I was actually in my high school years, I was a missionary, and we traveled all over Europe, all over the United States, and it was a performing group. So our mission was to entertain, but in a very Christian way. And I got to a point where I just, it didn't resonate with me anymore. Like, there were too many contradictions that didn't make sense. Like, I'm all about contradictions. I am a contradiction, but the contradictions need to make sense. They need to amount to something. They need to help us grow. And I wasn't growing in this environment. I felt stifled. And if you know anything about Aries energy, right? We don't like to be stifled. Like, don't tell us what to do. If I know it's not working for me, don't tell me that to just hang in there. I need something. I need to see progress. So at that point I was, reaching 16, 17, and I had been in this environment all my life. It wasn't making sense to me. And I started asking questions. But of course I got the same rhetoric that I think a lot of us get when we're starting to question and we're trying to make sense of things is just have faith, just have faith, just have faith.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working. Like just having faith was no longer the solution. So I pulled away from that environment and I started just exploring on my own. I started studying. And so this is a funny story. This is how I actually came to the path of witchcraft. um, my sister and I were both kind of on the same journey. We were exploring together and we were living in an apartment in San Diego. We were coming home from the grocery store and my sister said, "What about Wicca? Maybe we should look into that one next." Because we had already looked into Taoism, Buddhism, um, altruism, like you name it. We had been studying all of it. We were like checking out every book in the library. And this is just before the explosion of the internet, before the internet had a lot of information on there. So we're sitting in the car coming home, all the groceries in the back seat. And she says, "What about Wicca?" And I'm like, "What the hell's Wicca?" Like, I didn't even know what it was. And she's like, "It's like witchcraft. You study, you revere the earth." She's like, "We already kind of do that. We're always out, giving offerings to the land and speaking to the land spirits." And she's like, "You used to climb out your window when you were a kid, like you were already on that path." And I'm like, "What? Oh my God, no, that's devil worship." And as soon as she stopped the car, I got out of the car, slammed the door, and I went in the house. Like, didn't even get the groceries, didn't have any regard for her sitting in the car. I was just so appalled that she would suggest that. But after I threw my initial tantrum, we started to research it and it started to resonate. So that's where I started to study witchcraft, is in a conscious way. Like, I feel like I have been doing it my entire life, but consciously digging into it. So I started practicing with covens. And then eventually, about 15 years ago, I kind of separated myself from the Wicca stratosphere and started practicing a more folk style witchcraft, where it's definitely more land spirit based. It's more plant spirit based. It's based on intuition rather than this high magic structure. Here I am.
Here you are. Thank you for sharing that. Hey friends, it's Jayanne here. If you have been feeling really stressed out about the world lately, you are not alone. There's been enough crazy and fear flying around the internet that even I've been knocked off my rocker sometimes. But it's times like these that I'm really grateful for the tools I have to regulate my nervous system. I developed these tools for myself when I was going through the thick of it. My babies were young and I had a ton of repressed anger. And these tools helped me through other stressful times, including negotiating my own divorce, having difficult money conversations, and of course, the whole COVID experience. And I've put all these tools in a method I call the authentic self-care method. This is different than other self-care programs because it is a framework for you to find your special sauce when it comes to self-care. And let me tell you a secret. Step 1 is not take a bath, get a haircut, or go to the gym. Step 1 is regulate your nervous system. And that's exactly what we do inside the 3-in-1 membership. This powerful program includes focused journals and meditations you can do in just a few minutes, like the fight or flight session, the hippocampus session, which rewrites your ability to see new possibilities, and the vagus nerve session, which helps you regulate your whole body in a crisis. Using these tools, members have reported feeling more empowered, more expansive, and many experience relief from actual physical pain, all for less than $2 a day. So join the 3-in-1 membership now so you can learn these tools today. The world is not going to become less crazy. The only thing you can control is how you respond to it. The 3-in-1 membership will help you do that, so click the link in the show notes to enroll today. So when you do work today, what does it look like? What does it feel like when you do magic? what do you call that? Like, if someone was outside looking in, watching you do magic, what would they be seeing?
They'd be seeing me make a cup of tea or light a candle. They wouldn't see much of anything. It doesn't, to the outside person, it doesn't look like anything than a normal activity. You know,
Hmm.
I'm sitting writing another class, or I'm recording the podcast, or I'm out just sitting with the plants in my yard or taking a walk. I was having this conversation with my co-host of the Magic Kitchen podcast, Elise Wells, and she was commenting on how she's telling her students to just go outside. And they're, making these excuses of why they can't do that, because in their head, we've come to this conclusion that they're thinking going outside means you have to do a full-blown ritual outside to connect with the land, to connect with plant spirits. And really what we're saying is just go out for a walk. Go walk by your favorite tree, sit under your favorite tree, journal under your favorite tree, sit at a park bench. Nothing extravagant. You don't have to brave the storms, brave the weather. You don't have to do any of that. So that's really what my everyday practice looks like. It looks like everyday activities, taking a walk in the park, exercising, dancing, singing, doing art. One of my favorite things to do is watercolor. So I will sit and just doodle or paint something, and it's not for anybody else to see. It's just for me. And it's just part of my practice. So yeah, pretty normal. Looks pretty boring.
I swear, I keep taking witch classes and I go, why are they just saying normal things? And
Because
and
that's
I
what it
just
is. Yeah,
that's all it is. What
it
does it
really is.
feel like? Is there can you remember a time where you would have done some of those things pre witchiness and post, and what does it feel like? Is there a difference from inside looking out?
There's a definite difference. So internally, what's happening is a shift. I'm in communion with the energies around me, with the plant spirits, with the land spirits, with the spirit of the sun. And so the baseline of my practice is animism. I believe everything has a spirit, an intelligence, a soul of some sort. Now, it's not going to look like the same intelligence that we have right now, where we can have a conversation back and forth. It's different. It's a psychic experience. It's a intuitive experience. So when I'm out walking, I'm talking to the trees that I pass. They recognize me. I can feel them recognizing me. I can feel them welcoming me to the road I'm on, to the path or the hiking trail that I'm on. And I can sense the difference in different forests all around our county. So I'm in South Central Pennsylvania, and we have tons of forests. We have tons of lakeside walking trails. We have, deep wooded trails. And the one that I go to the most, it's very welcoming. Like I can feel the energy welcoming. And there's one that I don't frequent as often, but I'm starting to, because I'm working on the land. I'm working on the spirits of that place, because they don't like people. Even though it's a very well traversed park, there's all kinds of hikers and everything. There are places within this trail, within the trails of this place, that it's you feel this like judgment as soon as you enter the area. You feel this like closed off energy. And so the more I walk there, the more I introduce myself, I can tell that the energy is starting to open up to me. Not completely. There's certain areas I still won't go. And when you start opening yourself to that energy, you start realizing, oh, there's an intelligence here that can make its own decisions, that can be receptive or closed off. And that's the difference right now. That's where it feels like I'm in communion. I'm in conversation with the land and the plant spirits that I encounter.
It's just you're having a whole conversation while you're doodling. You're having a whole
Yes.
conversation while
Yeah.
you're journaling.
Yes. Yeah.
How do
One of
you do you ever feel like it's overwhelming at times to
Oh yeah.
be in communion? Do you ever say like, sorry, I can't talk today. It's just for me.
hmm Yeah. Sometimes when I go to, walk in the woods, or especially if I'm upset about something, um that's when I go and I just say, hey guys, I'm just here for support. I'm not here to connect. I'm just here for support. I'm here to decompress. Um, that's when I go to the places where I know that they're very receptive to me.
Mm.
And almost every single time I walk away feeling better.
Mm.
You can,
Yeah.
go find a little dark place in the woods and have a good cry, or just walk and feel supported. And it's a relationship, just like a friendship with a person or a family member. You have these relationships with humans, or you have relationships with your animals. How many times have you come home and your dog or your cat greets you at the door? Or if you're upset, your dog or your cat comes and puts their head on your lap, or wants to sit in your lap, or be close to you in some way. It's the same thing. It's and it's interesting. Like, I find it super interesting how science is now starting to prove that plants have an acute intelligence that we didn't realize before. They can feel
Mm.
pain.
Yeah.
They send signals to each other when there's an invasive bug species. The certain plants will send out aerosolized particles to warn other plants to boost up their immune responses and that sort of thing. So there's this intelligence that is there, but it's just not the intelligence that we're used to. And the same
Mm.
with animals. If you're going to work with animals in your practice, you need to recognize that they speak to us in a different way.
I just remember when I took an ecology class that they would tell me the giraffes have to sneak up on their plants upwind
Yeah.
in order to,
Yeah.
or else the downwind plants would get the message and they would be no longer edible.
Yes.
I just
Yes.
baffles
Yes.
me.
And it's faster than we think.
Yeah.
If you've ever had if you ever get a chance, like, find a tickle me plant. I think it's called mimosa. And if you touch it, the leaves will curl instantly.
Mm.
But the plant knows the difference between you touching it and water dripping on it. They know the difference. So they know when it's something that could be harmful versus something that's helpful. And you can't explain it any other way than it's got its own intelligence.
Love it. I love it.
Mhm.
What are some ways that you've seen these relationships with these spirits benefit your life in some
Mhm.
way, shape, or form? Like some kind of tangible result. You said, like, as you walk through the forest, like, you feel a lot better and they've given
Yeah.
you support. But what are some even more magical ways that you've seen things come to fruition?
Honestly, it, it's in the way I blend teas. So,
Mm.
you've had my teas.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you and Matt have talked about them in detail. Um, when I blend teas, the plants tell me how to blend. They tell me what to use. And now I go in with my herbalist diplomas and my knowledge, and I know approximately what I want it to do. Okay, I want this tea to help relieve a cough. Okay, what kind of cough? Dry cough, wet cough. Okay, make a decision, right? So I will pull in a couple of ingredients that I know specifically they're good for that ailment. But then I sit, so behind me is my room with all my herbs in it. So there's tins of herbs, there's bags of herbs, there's just floor to ceiling herbs. So I sit in that room and I will ask who wants to come and join this blend. Who
Mm.
wants to help aid this blend? Who wants to help with flavor? Who wants to help with action? And action, I mean the action that helps. If I'm working with a cough, what helps um, act as a spectorant? What acts as a suppressant, depending on what I'm doing? And that's when I feel them and hear them in my head, and it is in my head. Um, who wants to come play, so to speak? Who wants to be part of the blend? So I will pull them down and I will start blending with these herbs that have chimed off, and I will start creating the blend. And of course, I start small, taste it. Okay, do I like that? Does it taste good? Because I believe that it has to taste good, because you're not going to take medicine that tastes terrible. And
Mhm.
most herbalists agree that tea is the best way to get your herbal remedies. So when we are drinking tea on a regular basis, we are supporting ourselves on a cellular level, on a better level. Like, tinctures are great. Inhalation is great, but tea is agreed that it's the best form of taking your medicine, so to speak. I'm doing air quotes. So this is how I blend. The plants tell me who wants to be there, and then I figure out the ratios from there. Now, could I do it the traditional herbalist way where, okay, 70% of this one, 30% of this one, 10% of this one? I could. I know how to do that. I've been trained in that. That's not how I blend. I've decided no.
Oh, I can tell. I have literally read your ingredients list and went, I have all of these items. I have all of these items because I'm just a hoarder of herbs.
Yeah.
I have all these items, and yet I'm picking this tea instead of like I could just make it myself, right? It's different. It's totally different. And that's why I spent 10 minutes on my interview on Matt Stein's podcast.
Right.
It's called Contemplating Resonance, guys.
Yes.
But for literally 10 minutes going, Leandra's teas are magic. I don't know what she does, but it's magic. So thank you for telling us what that magic
You're
is.
welcome. Yeah. And I've been asked to teach this form of blending, and if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, like keep your eyes and ears out. I might. It's hard to teach this. It really
literally
is.
My next question. Like,
it's really hard to teach that.
Yeah, because it's a required like relationship creation.
Yes,
and that's different,
and that's a big part of it. Yeah, and that takes time. You have to develop the relationship. And a lot of people ask me like, well, do you have to use fresh? Do you have to grow it yourself? No, you don't. Dried plants hold the essence. Dried plants are just as powerful as a fresh plant. And it doesn't matter, where in the world it's been grown, as long as it's grown ethically. That's one thing that I'm very very cautious about. And I ask a lot of questions on my vendors, like, where is it grown? How is it grown? How are the workers treated? How is the land treated? So the ingredients I choose are very specific.
Yes. Because these are the questions we need to be asking, I think, of all of our vendors, whether we're buying clothes or furniture, or tea, especially if we're going to consume it. So I love that you add that layer of deep dive. It's just
well, and I find that when the plant is treated well in the growing process, it is much more eager to work with you than say if you just go buy a bag of Lipton tea or some loose leaf blend off the shelf at the grocery store. They're very different because mass producing stuff does not support the spirit of the plant. It supports the spirit of industry, which, as we know, is a component that we all need to be very, very aware of in our consumption. Yeah. I mean, we could do most of this stuff ourselves, but do we really have time for that? So we go to somebody who sells these things, who does this for us. And that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that the sources you're getting your stuff from are conscious of what they're working with, what they're using.
I feel that way about almost everything I consume. I love this. Yes. I love it. All right. So if you are listening and you're like, man, I really need to get some of this magical tea, where do we go again?
TheWitchwoodTeaHouse.com.
All one word. The Witchwood Tea House. Okay. Yes. Go to thewitchwoodteahouse.com. I'll link it in the show notes too, but just make sure that you go there. It is on another level. And Leandra has so many different kinds of tea. I just find it incredible. She's got some for each chakra. She's got some for sleep and lucid dreaming, which apparently tastes pretty bitter.
It is. It's a pretty bitter tea, but it's made for function. That's the one tea I don't drink. So I drink all of my other teas, but that's the one I don't drink. So if you do get that one, if you can't drink it, you can bathe in it or you can burn it. Just a little tip.
I like that we have alternatives.
Yes, there's always an alternative.
Let's switch gears a little bit because, like we've discussed, Leandra is so multifaceted. And I want to talk about something more directly feminine. I mean, tea blending is a feminine role, right? Let's address the feminine directly, and let's talk about goddesses. And I know everyone's heard, we've talked about the triple goddess, Maiden, Mother, Crone, and we brought in this concept of like matriarch, right, in our previous conversations. But Leandra, I want to hear some alternative archetypes, because I know somebody listening out there is like, well, I don't really resonate with any of those. I'm not a child. I am probably in my midlife time frame, but I'm maybe not a mother, or like mothering sounds very like a cage right now, right? Maybe that's going on. And I don't really want to be like, I'm mother archetype. Like that sounds, or crone, it has not great connotations with it. Although it's technically, like we've talked before, a very honorable term that we have turned into a terrible one. So tell me about 3 alternative goddess archetypes. And then we're going to talk about, there's like 6 others you've got.
Yes, I have 9 total. And the reason I started diving into this part of my studies is the divine feminine. When like I said, I started with Wicca. So of course the Maiden, Mother, Crone was that structure that they taught you. But it never fit with me because I didn't like the patriarchal view of lumping the child and the maiden together. This idea that sexuality, beauty, seduction was also related to a young girl. That it kind of icked me out a lot, and it really opened my eyes to the patriarchal view of what women are. You know, you're useful as a young goddess, you're useful as a young mother who can produce, but as soon as you hit crone, oh well, what are you? You're pretty useless, right? So, but there was nothing in between. There was nothing in there for the perimenopausal woman. There was nothing in there for the aging mother who, you know, didn't need to care for her children 24/7. You know, like both of my children going through this, like my son is 16 now. He doesn't need me as much. Like he's pretty independent. I'd hope. You know, I'd hope he would be. I'm trying not to raise a useless man. So I want him to be independent. So knowing that my children don't need me as much, to me is that should be a badge of honor. Like we as mothers, I believe we should be raising our children to contribute rather than consume, to take away from society. So if I see my children rising up and taking care of themselves, being able to get up in the morning and take a shower without, you know, me having to drag them out of bed, it's a good indication that I'm doing my work. So when I started looking at the divine feminine, I'm like, this Maiden, Mother, Crone does not fit the whole. It doesn't quite make sense. So I have 9 archetypes that I work with. So I'll pick the 3 that relate to the Maiden, Mother, Crone. So I have the Great Mother. So she is that nurturing aspect. She is associated with the womb, the waters, fruiting and being receptive, aligning with cyclical cycles. So the idea of our, you know, the moon and our hormones, and the idea of being that protective mother. So she's not this passive mother. She is the protective mother. So if her children, you know, think of Mother Bear. Like Mother Bear is incredibly nurturing. Mother Bear gives a lot to her children, but you mess with her children, she's going to come after you. So she's not this passive mother, which I think the mother archetype in the Maiden, Mother, in the triple goddess realm was pretty passive. She wasn't allowed to be a warrior as well as a mother. And then we have the medicine woman, which is another kind of nurturing archetype, but she's not specifically the mother. She is someone she's the herbalist. She's the alchemist. She is related to earth and water. She's related to the seasons. Her symbols could be the mortar and pestle. She's the healing hands of the divine feminine. And let me clarify. When I say divine feminine, I'm not specifically talking about women. I'm talking about the aspects we all embody, we can all inhabit, that keep us receptive and growing and fluid in our practices. So these archetypes can also relate to men in their journey, in their spiritual journeys. And let me throw the warrior in there, because I think this was one of the big ones that was missing from the Maiden Mother Crone archetype, is that warrior. I mean, we have Athena, we have Durga, we have Freya, we have Kali, we have Sekhmet. These are warrior women. These are warrior goddesses, but they weren't represented fully in the Maiden Mother Crone box that they were trying to put us in. You know, these are this feminine archetype is related to fire, the sword, the shield, the spear. So this is the archetype that fights for what's right, the activist, the one who's fighting for her life in a bad situation, in a bad relationship, the one that's allowed to put that foot forward and protect others. So I think with those three archetypes, like, we already see like this expansion on the Maiden Mother Crone. Like, you can be the maiden and be a warrior. You can be the mother, you could be the warrior. You could be the crone, you could be the warrior. And it's not limiting. We're not put in a little box.
If you've been craving something deeper, something sacred, something real, then this is for you. Listen, we get so much out of chatting with you on the podcast and online. We love your comments, your messages, your transformation, but it's just not the same as being together in person. We want to meet you. So we've created something incredibly special for you. We're calling it Into the Heroine's Heart. It's a 4-day women's retreat in the secluded mountains of Idaho, this June the 26th through the 29th. This is more than a retreat. It's a guided descent into the most tender and powerful parts of yourself. There is magic when women gather, and with daily rituals, astrology, shadow work, cacao ceremonies, drum circles, nourishing food, and the beauty of sisterhood, you'll reconnect to your body, your heart, and your wild feminine wisdom. This is going to allow you to live the podcast instead of just listening to it. We'll be putting all the juicy, delicious, visceral things you've heard about here into living physical form. You'll sleep under the stars, share stories by the fire, and leave feeling alive, whole, and aligned. There are only 10 spots left, and actually probably less by the time this gets posted. And if you're a Feminine Alchemist member, you get $150 off. So go to the link in the show notes, click it, and begin your journey to wholeness. Please join us for this once-in-a-lifetime experience. If your heart is calling, I hope you'll answer. We'll see you there. Back to the show.
Can you talk about, because you mentioned perimenopause, and so I'm going to ask you about one archetype related to perimenopause, I think, or menopausal time frame. I think that's a big question that people have on their minds.
I think the medicine woman, the mystic, and the warrior are they all kind of fall into this perimenopausal state, because I notice a lot of women, including myself, like we weren't really told that perimenopause can last a decade or more for us. It can start as early as 30 and last until we're 50. So we're not fully privy to our own biological functions. It's kind of been kept this weird little secret, right? So when I notice in myself and in my friends who are going through a similar change in their hormonal status, is that we become more of the warrior. We become less tolerant of things that we would have tolerated before. We become more nurturing for ourselves, which is part of the Great Mother and the Medicine Woman. We start caring for ourselves a bit better, if not radically better. We start realizing, like, oh crap, there are things out there that I need to be fighting for. So we become that warrior aspect where we start fighting for ourselves. We start fighting for others, fighting for rights, fighting for sovereignty, all that stuff, which leads us up into that crone phase, where I put a couple of other archetypes, like the mystic and even the seductress is in there. So I have separated the child and the seductress. They are two separate archetypes, but you can,
Thank goodness.
because it just did not sit with me. Like, I don't want to lean into the underlining pedophilia that our society seems to recognize. But then there's also the archetype of the queen in this stage where we start really standing in our own sovereignty. We start really looking at around going, you know what? It doesn't have to be this way, and I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. We start looking for fairness. We start looking for reciprocity in our relationships and that sort of thing. And I think that's why a lot of women, when they hit perimenopause and menopause, they start reevaluating their entire life. And changes have to be made, and they realize that.
I had somebody who was like, I hit 38 and I just didn't care what people thought of me anymore. And I was like,
right. Yeah.
Awesome.
All of a sudden, right?
So you have a whole workbook and a way of accessing this information, interacting with these archetypes directly. And I want to hear about that.
So it is first it's a quiz. So what this quiz will do is it'll help tell you which archetype you're aligning with most right now in your life. And then from there, you can get the workbook, and I have a complete workshop that discusses these archetypes. And then if you still want more after that, I have the Gardens of the Mystic program, where we explore each of these archetypes in the different gardens that I teach. And that's a bigger program. That is a full initiation program where you become part of the tradition that I'm teaching. And these archetypes are heavily integrated into that tradition.
The goddess archetypes are.
Yeah.
The tradition. Okay.
Yes,
that you
yes.
teach. Talk about a little bit about the gardens, because I'm 100% sure people are like, what is that?
What is that? So the Gardens of the Mystic program, that is my initiation and certification program. It is fully an 18-month program, but I put it in 6-month chunks. And what we do is we work out of sanctuaries. So the first sanctuary gets you familiar with the gardens. It gets you familiar with the structure of the gardens. It leads you through the baseline gardens that help you get set up for the rest of the program. Then in Sanctuary 2, we start going deeper. So we go deeper into esoteric concepts that help you deepen your practice, from creating magical medicines in herbalism, to learning how to work with plants directly, to learning to work with animal spirits, to developing your psychic abilities, to creating magical items that you use in your daily practice, to deepening the relationships with your divine partnerships. So whether that be God, that be goddess, that be land spirits, plant spirits, that sort of thing. So this, and then the last, also in the second phase, the Sanctuary 2, I start teaching you my integrated energy healing certification program. So like Utsui Reiki, you have your level 1, level 2, level 3, and mastery. So I have level 1, level 2, and then a mastery after that. So what I teach is Utsui Reiki and Celtic Reiki. It's kind of a hybrid. So in this program, in Sanctuary 2, that's where I start teaching how to do this energy work for yourself. And then in Sanctuary 3, we deepen that while we continue with the different gardens. And we start getting into the deeper energy healing, where you can start performing on other people. And then the mastery is a completely separate program that comes after the gardens, after the initiation. And you can take that as a master so that you can teach the program after that. So like I said, there's 18 different gardens. So we have the primordial garden, the garden of rampart, which is the garden of security, of shielding, learning to protect your energy, learning to protect others. The garden of the gods, where we're connecting with our divine forces. The garden of the scribe, or the scrivener, where we learn to document our journey. We're learning to keep a book of shadows, a grimoire. Then the garden of knowing, where we're learning to develop our psychic skills. The garden of adornment, where we're learning to adorn ourselves in ways that set us up for ritual. And those are the first 6 gardens. Like I said, there's 18. So I don't know how much you want me to go into them. But
that sounds. But you have a quiz for these too, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I have another quiz for these, so you can discover which. It's with the first 6 gardens, so it'll tell you which of the first 6 gardens you most resonate with. And but in the program, like we go through all of them. And I deepen, the relationship with them through live workshops. So we meet twice a month. The first one is a live workshop where I deliver the content to you for you to basically take, and then you have homework. And then 2 weeks later, we meet for a group mentoring session where we discuss the homework, we discuss your experiences with the homework, and we explore further ways to integrate. And then within that, I will have like extra workbooks, handouts, and even some pre-recorded workshops that you can run through to help deepen that relationship with that garden. And they're metaphorical gardens. So I'm literally walking you through a garden that you create in your head and introducing you to these different esoteric concepts within that garden. So the very first thing I take you through in this program is for you to meet your garden, for you to see in your mind's eye the garden where you will enter each and every other garden. So it's that gateway you create for yourself.
So beautiful. I'm just like letting it all wash over me now as you say it. You're not seeing visuals right now, guys. That's okay, but I sure am.
Good.
Oh, so where are the best ways for people to interact with you right now if they want to join any of these things or just kind of check you out and be a little peek?
Take a peek at what I do. LeandraWitchwood.com is the absolute best place to find me. I do have socials. I'm not very active on them because I'm at war with socials right now. I'm reevaluating my presence on social media right now because of everything that's happened in the social and political bubble right now that we find ourselves in. So I'm trying to not support those who oppress, to be very specific. That warrior in me is coming out. So my website is the best place to find everything I do. You can schedule a meeting with me. You can schedule a reading. You can schedule an energy healing. You can sign up for all of my programs through my website, LeandraWitchwood.com.
I love your emails. I think that's probably the best way to connect with you personally. But yeah, those emails are so good. The daily emails that I get are amazing. And then if you have more questions, people can just reply to those too. And go,
and I respond. Yeah, they go right into my inbox. Yeah, if you sign up for my email newsletters, I try to send out like self-care. It's really self-care focused, because that's why we're here. We're here to nurture ourselves. And I don't want to just spam you with junk. I do have a weekly newsletter that goes out every week that kind of gives you a summary of everything that's happening. But I try on a daily basis to give you something nourishing for your body to grab onto and use. And then what I typically do is I'll take those daily emails or those weekly emails and I'll compile them into a workbook. That way you have it all in one spot. So you don't have to like hunt down the email for something that you wanted.
I love that. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here, Leandra. What is one thing you want to leave everyone with today? Like one piece of wisdom?
One piece of wisdom is never stop learning and just always be curious. Always go seek out that knowledge that you think that is just out of your reach. Like go seek it. It won't be out of your reach anymore.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And everybody have a great week and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Please make sure to give us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening and share with someone you know. See you next week.